ashes from the dying. Hello. I'm having my tea because it's so cold. How are you? Okay. Today is Wednesday and I'm reading from the Gerald Kraak Anthology. I wanted to read from the first volume again, but then I realized last week I read from the first volume. So I won't be reading from the first volume. I'll read from the third, which is The Heart of the Matter. Hi everybody. So today I'm reading from the Gerald Kraak Anthology, and this volume is the third one, The Heart of the Matter. I haven't read The Heart of the Matter much. The last one I read was This Hell of a Body. I don't know if you missed that, but it is in IGTV for those who missed it. So I will read from The Masked Dance. I'm sorry I didn't pin the title. Let me just try to do that. Masked Dance by Nigel Mpemba. Okay, let me see. Hello. So this is from the Gerald Kraak Anthology. It's the third volume. Mpemba. I actually thought I would have had time to read a few stories today so that I can choose. Hello, Kumbu. Sorry, I'm just typing with one hand. Normally I type them out and then Gerald Kraak Anthology. This is from volume 3. Okay. Done. Now I can pin it and okay. Masked Dance. The Masked Dance is by Nigel Mpemba Patel. I'm going to read Nigel's bio first and then I'll show you a picture of Nigel. This is Nigel at the bottom. I don't know if you can see Nigel. There is Nigel. There, this one. Yes. Okay. So that is Nigel Mpemba Patel. And Nigel is a queer activist from Malawi. And Nigel obtained a BSc in philosophy and an LLB from the University of Cape Town. A Shambhala scholarship recipient for queer leaders. Whilst studying towards these degrees, Nigel was, among other things, a vice chairperson of Rainbow UCT, the Queer Student Society on campus, and an organizer in the Trans Collective. Nigel has written for several different platforms, which include the Mail and Guardian and the feminist journal Agenda. His areas of interest include, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm changing the sentences and I'm not supposed to. Nigel Mpemba Patel is a queer activist from Malawi. They obtained a BSc in philosophy and an LLB from the University of Cape Town. A Shambhala scholarship recipient for queer leaders. While studying towards these degrees, Nigel was, among other things, vice chairperson of Rainbow UCT, the Queer Student Society on campus, and an organizer in the Trans Collective. Nigel has written for several different platforms, which include the Mail and Guardian and the feminist journal Agenda. Their areas of interest include gender, sexuality, and race. My apologies. I just remembered that okay, it's fine. I think you guys got me. But yeah, I was changing the sentences. So like Nigel only answers to they, their, or yeah. Okay, where was I? It's on page 127. The masked dance. The ashes from the dying embers were warm, like they remembered being on fire. Chikumbuzo thought, as she reluctantly covered herself in them. Now dawn, the forest felt smaller and less alive than it had during the night. The ground was the resting place of leaves that had fallen off thirsty trees. From the outskirts of the village, she could hear people were awake. Before the cockerel had greeted the sun, they had begun to prepare for the important day ahead. Chikumbuzo rubbed down a handful of ash mixed with dust onto her thigh. Her skin was now shaded brown and gray, the colors of the land. This was supposed to connect her to her forefathers. However, feeling more dirty than spiritual, Chikumbuzo was yet to experience this patrilineal link. She stood up slowly, stiff and tired from working into the early hours of the morning. Her hands ached from the secret carving. Chikumbuzo was the youngest initiate. Having spent 5 days away from the village, she and the other 4 boys were to return at midday, no longer as children, but as men. Then Chikumbuzo would have done her duty and could leave her father's compound and begin to build her own hut. The day of the final ceremony had arrived. The initiate boys eagerly anticipated their change in status. Isolated, Chikumbuzo struggled to comprehend the strange appeal. She wanted neither to return as the person she was told to be, nor as the person she had been. She contemplated not returning at all and living as an outcast. But choosing this sort of solitude would be to condemn herself to a punishment that her clan reserved for the evils of witchcraft. She had to return. She considered purposefully failing at the initiation. The thought weighed heavily on her mind. She understood, though, that tempting as it was to act in this way, it would be unwise to do so. Her father was a man whose only tool was a hammer. Every problem looked to him like a nail. Sure. Her father was a man whose only tool was a hammer. Every problem looked to him like a nail. But more importantly, Chikumbuzo had struggled through the lessons for Chimwemwe, her twin. She would not bear the thought of the shame that would fall upon her if she did not complete the process. Nonetheless, preparing for the final ceremony, Chikumbuzo recognized her case was different. She would see to that. She could not exactly say what had decided her resistance, but it had something to do with a sacred pool in Alinafe, for that was her mother's name. Chikumbuzo wondered what Chimwemwe might be doing at that very moment. Resurfacing inside of her was the desire to be a part of the initiation that her sister was undergoing. Though, realizing that, like her own initiation, her sister's was also coming to an end, it was clear that the prospect of them making the journey into womanhood together had come and gone. This period being the longest the twins had been apart since their birth, Chikumbuzo had been filled with a deep sadness when the senior woman had collected her sister. "It won't be long, Chiku," Chimwemwe told her, trying to downplay her excitement. We will both be back soon, and it will not be any different between us. I want to come with you, Chikumbuzo responded wistfully. If Mama was alive, she would have made sure I could go. Things would be different. She held back tears as the women arrived in the compound. Okay, so they have both been separated. They've both been separated for two different ceremonies, not ceremonies, but initiations. Hugging Chikumbuzo before leaving, Chimwemwe whispered into her ear, "Oh, how I wish things never had to change. And how I wish they would change more," Chikumbuzo thought. How horrible it would be if things never changed, if girls like her were to forever be condemned like this. As if her mind had been peered into and her thoughts heard, as the procession of women made their way out, one looked down at Chikumbuzo and said, "Those who have no teeth should not break the clay cooking pot." This brought her to tears. It was a clear rebuke of her inability to be molded into a proper woman. There was little time to cry, though, as shortly after this, she too had been collected. As they were led out of the village, a man in an elephant mask said to Chikumbuzo and the 4 other boys who were joining her in the initiation, "You are all bound by secrecy. These faces we wear are those of our ancestors. Through them, their spirits will teach you. Each face is here to teach you a different lesson. Show them respect and follow their instructions, and the spirits will look favorably upon you. And they will provide you with fortune and happiness for you and their family in the living world. Fail and you will pay heavily. Anyone who reveals what happens here, especially to a woman, will be cursed to live a life of hardship and anguish. For you, the living, will have not pleased the ancestors." From behind a bone-white slave trader's mask, the voice continued, "This is where you become men." The boys shed anxious smiles as they made their way into the forest. Chikumbuzo was filled with dread as she worried about what feminine part of herself she would have to sacrifice to survive. Sure. She thought about running away to the church. The priests there were always talking about the evils of African rituals, and she knew they wanted to do away with initiation rites. But the elders would not hear of it. There was little that they could do to stop the ancient practice, let alone protect her. Moreover, her situation might not have been any better in the church. She recalled one of the masked figures she had observed at the great dance. He had a pink face and mimicked the missionaries, warning the clan about the dangers of neglecting the ancestors in favor of a pale god. Once they were in the forest, the teachers and the initiates settled in a clearing where they were to stay for the duration of their transition to manhood. Chikumbuzo's trial had begun. Growing up, she had watched many initiation ceremonies, and so she knew that on the last day the initiates would return to the village to dance the masked dance. She did everything she was told. Like those before her, and like the initiate boys, everyone would celebrate her return as a man. She imagined how the clan would watch her transformed self dance. She smiled, knowing they would cluck to one another, the wisdom of the sages, If you want to see the eyes of a snail, be patient. If she twisted and turned herself in the right way and managed to leave as a man, she knew that her father would be the most shocked of all those who welcomed the young men at the end of the ceremonial celebrations. When they were much younger, father had not cared how they behaved or who they were. The twins had grown up as happy girls. But everything had changed after the twins' mother died. Alinafe never pressured her daughters. Indeed, she raised them to be anything they were not. Many in the village had not liked this. They had warned father that too much tolerance paves the way for trouble. At the time, this had not seemed to bother him. He loved his twins so dearly that he was often heard saying, "Those who split their wood would be warmed twice," in celebration of them. Alinafe's death changed this. Her absence made him dry up. As Chikumbuzo began to mature, she went from looking like Alinafe to becoming a blemished, unworthy, and maimed reproduction of her. Her femininity was suddenly an insult. Over time, this feeling in him had grown and swelled until it drove him to send Chikumbuzo to initiation. Father hoped she would come back a man. Chikumbuzo played this possibility out in her head, but knew that this was not the acceptance she longed for. It seemed to her that if she did what her father wanted, she would forever live outside of herself, and that she would be tarnished even in the eyes of her dead mother. Alinafe had known her as her special girl, and she could not betray the truth of who she was. The drums began to signal that the women had delivered food. "Chiku, wait for me." It was Ganizani, one of the initiates. He had not run ahead with the other boys. "Listen," he said as he walked beside her to where the drumming was coming from. "Can we talk tonight?" "Yes," Chikumbuzo responded, not quite sure what it was she was agreeing to. Whatever the case, it could not be too bad. Ganizani was never rude to her. Relative to the way the other boys in the village treated her, one might have even called him friendly. "I'll meet you by the fire when everyone is asleep, and we can go and sit under one of the mango trees and talk." Walking beside Ganizani, Chikumbuzo felt their bodies disappear into the night until she was only aware of their voices. "You know, I'm glad that you're here doing this with us," Ganizani said. "You are? I wish I wasn't here," Chikumbuzo responded. "I wish I was with my sister." She imagined how her life might have been different if she had been born like her. "She is good, but I'm glad it is you here," Ganizani said. "Why?" she asked unassumingly. "Well, do you promise not to tell any of the boys?" Ganizani's voice was nervous. "I swear upon my ancestors' grave," Chikumbuzo responded, taking the conversation seriously. The full moon's light piercing the darkness, they were now under the tree. It had begun to produce small mangoes. Chikumbuzo wondered how it resisted the drought. "You see," Ganizani explained in a low voice after they had seated themselves by the trunk. I don't know what's going on. Guys, can you still see me? Because the screen is now split into two. Please, hey Kumbu, I don't know. I haven't read the book, the short story as well. Please indicate if you can see me, because My screen is split into two. It's so weird. Um, okay, yes, you can. Okay, I'm gonna continue then. So, okay, you see, Ganizani explained in a low voice after they had seated themselves by the trunk. I think you are special. Chikumbuzo looked out into the night. She acted uninterested but listened carefully as Ganizani continued. And I know you are not like other girls in the village. Chikumbuzo sighed. Oh no, it's not a bad thing. Shot out of Ganizani's mouth. It's good. It's like you cannot tell if you are a boy or a girl. I could be none, Chikumbuzo added in frustration. Ganizani laughed a little uneasily. Well, the other boys don't like it. They think you are a witch. I don't like them either, Chikumbuzo responded, trying to put an end to the path the conversation was taking. Well, if you tried to act like us sometimes, they would be kinder and we could see each other more, Ganizani innocently suggested. When he flashed a smile at her, Chikumbuzo was reminded that even white teeth are no guarantee against bad breath. She did not respond. I'm sorry if I upset you. I just wanted to warn you about tomorrow. My brother told me that teachings begin at sunrise, so be awake. Thank you, Chikumbuzo said. She began to think about the initiation as the dread of earlier returned. To make matters worse, she was confused about this boy, who she was not sure was helping her or making things worse. I have to read that part about the white teeth though. Okay, he flashed a smile at her. Chikumbuzo was reminded that even white teeth are no guarantee against bad breath. I'm sorry. Okay. The two were the only ones up at sunrise, waiting for the teachers to arrive. Chikumbuzo and Ganizani were still slightly startled as three masked men descended upon them from nowhere. Much to the amusement of Ganizani, the three sleeping boys had received the shock of their lives as the pain-faced spirits began dancing and singing among them. The village is without men. Without men now. Where there is water, there is the elephant. Where there is water, there are women. Let us go from boy to boy. The elephant has sent us for men. Let us look around for men. Chikumbuzo watched the spirit faces. Something about them made her uncomfortable. She could not yet say what it was, but she felt nervous whenever she was in the presence of the masks. Every morning the initiates were taught life lessons. Chikumbuzo took little interest in these. She quickly realized that all she had to do was learn the moral of each story they were told and repeat it back well enough to please the spirit teachers. Chikumbuzo laughed to herself about the fact that many of the teachings were about how to manage women, as though somehow women were the stepping stones on the path to manhood. The masked spirit of the husband with a gloomy face had explained how a man who marries a beautiful wife would have the same problems as a farmer who grows maize along the road. The lion had cautioned them not to rely on women. He said they were flowers that blossom nicely in the morning, but wither and die quickly in the afternoon. And then the face of an old singanga had added, there is no venom like that of the tongue of a woman. Recalling having heard this lesson before, Chikumbuzo was sure that the teacher had added on the part about it being a woman's tongue. But she did not say anything. On the last day of the lessons, the initiates were taught about mask making. Chikumbuzo watched the teacher carve with fascination. As the old man brought this new wooden face into the world, everything else seemed to fade into the background. The initiates were told that only chosen people were allowed to practice the divine craft of mask making. For the final ceremony, they were assigned masks based on the inner character they had demonstrated. When Chikumbuzo saw the elephant spirit coming towards them, she felt her stomach drop. She joined the other initiates as they knelt down and bowed their heads. A wooden face was placed at the knees of each. 2 of the boys had gotten the mask of the monkey, which was testament to their bond. The faces were similarly carved, and it was obvious that they would dance together and tell the lessons of friendship. The biggest boy in the group received a round mask, which was the shape of the sun. It held the face of an ancient chieftain. Ganizani received the long mask of the wise man. Chikumbuzo had heard of this mask before. It was the same one her father had been assigned at his initiation so many years ago. A tiny red carving sat at Chikumbuzo's knees. It had bulbous eyes and strange protrusions coming from its forehead and cheeks. This was the mask of sickness, the face of the leper man. In ceremonies, its dance warned the village of the dangers of choosing a life of evil. The boy sitting next to Chikumbuzo glanced at her in contempt. Embarrassed, she quietly walked away just as the rest of them started to talk about the big dance. After the ceremony, the first thing I'm going to do is choose a wife, said the boy who had received the sun mask. The 2 boys with the monkey masks snickered, and Gazini joined in. Chikumbuzo wondered if he would still be interested in her once he was a man. The night before the dance, the initiates and teachers slept at sunset. Unable to rest, Chikumbuzo felt heavy. She heard someone calling her name. Recognizing the voice, Chikumbuzo followed it, leaving the clearing where the others were sleeping. She would later be unable to recall if this had been a dream. Walking further into the forest, her eyes adjusted to the darkness. The forest felt as if it was awake. Nearing the source of the voice, she arrived at a rock pool. Chikumbuzo made her way into the water without hesitation. She took a deep breath and put her head under the surface. Submerged, she opened her eyes and saw the water begin to circle her. It circled and circled until eventually it took the form of a large snake. Chikumbuzo had not been afraid because the snake had the most beautiful voice she had ever heard. It was the firm and steady voice of her mother. She heard the snake say, "I am the great mother whose soul is anchored here in the pool where the spirits reside. My message is clear. I've brought you here to warn you that the masks have fallen under the corruption of men. The many faces have become a long line of forgotten women." There was anger in her powerful voice. The faces carved from the masks no longer resemble the ancient spirits. Today they are all men, and yet the forgotten women refuse to be silenced. These new faces no longer remember that Mother is God. I gave life to them, and now they choose to birth only the spirits of men. They dance for our destruction. Go, my daughter. Go forward and remember. Show them who they once were. That was it, Chikumbuzo thought. This was the feeling that made her anxious whenever the masks were near, the feeling she could not explain. All the masks she had ever seen were of men. Even the animals were carved in the image of the clan's forefathers. As quickly as the Great Mother had appeared, she now disappeared. The water settled and all was quiet. Chikumbuzo went quickly back to the clearing, back to where the teacher slept. There, she quietly took the carver's tools and found a block of wood. She sat under a cool mango tree and began to carve. Not knowing exactly what she was doing, her hands had taken on a life of their own. Chikumbuzo carved all night and into the early hours of the morning. When it was near dawn and her hands were rough, she stood up. She was clutching a face. She returned to the tools and went back to where the initiates were still asleep around a fire whose embers were almost dead. She picked up the leper mask she had been assigned and threw it into the glowing center. Then she picked up an old charcoal and colored her new mask black. Then she wrapped it in banana leaves and lay down. She was ready for the masked dance. I'm not gonna read up until the masked dance finishes, because there's still a lot of it. I'm encouraging you to actually go out and buy this anthology. I read from volume 3, which is The Heart of the Matter. Yeah. And I've been reading every Wednesday from these 3 volumes. And I hope you enjoyed that. Hi, Makanaka. Thank you for joining, you guys. Thanks, everybody. I see everybody who came in late. If you did miss it, it will be saved on IGTV. And I do save them onto YouTube. So, yes, Jane, you must buy the book. It is long. No, it's not long, but yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, I have to go. I've been reading for 40 minutes now. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you do get the anthology. I love the spines. I love the covers. They are gorgeous. See. Kumbu is asking, can't we have a bit of the dance? No, you can't have a bit of the dance. I have to go prepare a meal because we've got load shedding at 8. But let's see. Did you guys like that part where the moths are bringing the elephant men are bringing the and then they recited that dance, the song rather. The village is without men now. Where there is water, there is the elephant. Where there is water, there are women. Let us go from boy to boy. The elephant has sent us for men. Let us look around for men. That is awesome. I loved it. Okay. That morning, the initiates returned to the village, led by their teachers. The initiates were ash-covered and nervous about the impending ceremony. They carried their masks with them like shields. For the first time, Chikumbuzo felt excited about what was to come. They entered the village and quickly settled inside a hut next to the area where the clan was waiting. The whole village had congregated in a circle, and they sat huddled together with the smell of fermented maize filling the air. Then the drums began to talk, signaling that it was time. The ceremony began with the boy who wore the sun. His steps were heavy. Chikumbuzo felt the ground shake as he moved. Following him were the two friends, the monkeys. The crowd cheered at the synchronized jumps. Then Ganizani had entered the circle. Spinning around, he was a whirlwind that filled the dry air with dust. A big sensation among the men. They smiled as they watched the wise spirit, remembering the days when they had danced into manhood. It was now Chikumbuzo's turn. Opening the banana leaves, the face of a woman gazed back at her. It resembled her mother, yet it was different, exaggerated and serpentine, with long black markings. The curved lines gave the face a comely shape. Chikumbuzo felt as if she was seeing her reflection for the first time. The crowd was growing impatient, and so she had little time to admire the mask. She put it on and ran out of the hut, making her way into the center of the circle. The drummers stopped playing. "Do you see? A dog is a dog," a drunken voice shouted. "Even if you put its food on the table for it to eat, the dog will still pull the food to the ground." The crowd laughed. Chikumbuzo's feet froze. Her eyes searched the crowd until she found her sister. Her head had been shaved and she was seated with the women. She saw her smile directly at her, and Chikumbuzo was filled with elation. Her sister had changed, but the bond had not. She knew then that Chimwemwe would disregard any secrecy vows and share what she had learned with her. Through Chimwemwe, Chikumbuzo would have the initiation she longed for. Her sister began to ululate. This was it. Chikumbuzo began to move her hands in fluid circles. This is the hardest part, she thought. This is the part I must figure out for myself. Gaining confidence, she walked around the ring, her movements deliberate like those of a cat. Stepping side to side, she swayed to the rhythm in her head. Back in the center of the ring, she began to shake her hips rapidly. At that moment, the sky opened up and a shower descended. The drums began to beat. Their rhythm was fast. Their story was clear. Chikumbuzo's body spun and dipped to the floor. Her hands leaped above her head towards the sky, giving thanks. I'm going to leave you to it. You guys must buy the book. That was beautiful. It's not even finished, but it's a good ending. But I don't understand why did her father decide to have her go to initiate with the boys, and her sister being initiated with the women. But yeah, these are important stories. It is powerful. African perspectives on gender, social justice, and sexuality. So that is what I read from last week. Oh no, this is the one. So if you've been missing out on the Wednesday readings from the Gerald Kraak Anthology, you can check them out on IGTV or on YouTube. I have been saving them, and I am archiving everything on YouTube. So please subscribe. And yes, I will have a competition soon, a giveaway. Actually, speaking of giveaways, I actually went and fetched books. I have to go again to Bargain Books. I got this for 70 bucks. So these are it's got Ingleba movie vibes. Yes, that's what Jane is saying. Jane, I actually haven't watched the movie, but because I've seen the preview, not the preview, what is that? The trailer when it was on Showmax. I think it's actually gone from Showmax now. But yeah, I think it does have those vibes. By the movie. Yeah. So I got this today at Bargain Books, and this is only at selected stores. So please don't say you saw it here and then next thing it's not. And then I got Mo a book, and I got books from excuse me, I got books from NB today. New books. Yes, yes. So I'll do a proper post later. I got them and then I had to leave for the stores. So yeah, I got a book haul. Yes, I love new books. So that is these are all by Kwela, which is an imprint of NB Publishers. I will be doing posts on them soon. But yeah, that is what I read for you guys today. If you did okay, so Salz says, so you should read A Man That's Not a Man by Thando Mngolozana, the founder of Abantu. Yes. Now my screen is doing this and I don't know. But anyway. So I will it's now published by Cassava, right? Yeah, I think so. So I will be looking out for it. Salz, thank you for that reminder. JHB Pre-Loved Books. Hey, you guys must follow JHB Pre-Loved Books. JHB Pre-Loved Books. That was amazing. Had my eyes closed for the last bits and could picture it all so clearly. Oh, thank you. I read beautifully. Thank you so much. Kumbi said that is powerful. Yeah, like Salz, you do need this book, hey? Everybody get these books. They are amazing. The stories in here, everybody that's written in here is amazing. Chike also has 2 stories in here. I don't know if I love what Sisonke had said on the intro, because she is the editor. And last week, remember, I read Mothers and Men, which was the winner of this volume. Mothers and Men is also on IGTV, so maybe check that out as well. Guys, I will be running a giveaway. I still need to decide what to give away. Yeah, so I still have to go sit down and just think. But yes, Icon Productions. Oh, okay. A Man That's Not a Man. Oh, okay. There was a okay, Sal says there was a winter sale of the book and Red Apple Dreams, both for 350. Oh yes, I do remember seeing that sale. Mohupuleng. Kumbu says, thank you for today's reading. Thank you so much, Kumbu. Thank you, guys. So, A Man That's Not a Man. No man. I think, because I was looking at Cassava titles today, at Cassava Press, because I wanted Sarah. I'll tell you now. It's going to pop up just now. Sarah Ladipo Manika's book, Independence. I wanted that book, so I was actually at Bargain Books, and I was trying to check. A Man Who Is Not a Man is now available through Cassava Republic. So they've changed the cover as well. And it's now appearing on Cassava Republic's website. So, but this cover, it says here it's not available in our country. So I haven't even put in my country. I don't even know why does it think so. But yeah, so I should read that. Oh, guys, my battery's low. I need to go. Don't give away Mills and Boone, eh? Ow, Sal's. Although I do have Mills and Boone, I don't read Mills and Boone. And by the way, speaking of Mills and Boone, today at Bargain Books, they are so cheap, the Mills and Boone. And the guy who was helping me said, Mills and Boone is bought by older women, and then they read them, and then they take them to secondhand bookstores afterwards, and then they come back and read and buy the new ones. No, I won't. I won't give away Mills and Boone. But for those who do read Mills and Boone, you can hit me up in the DMs, and then we can arrange for you guys to get your Mills and Boone. I want none of it. I'm okay. All right. So yeah, that was today's reading, guys. I'm all booked out. Hey, like yo, dinga tati buka, like yeah. Kumbu says horny old age. I can't wait. Oh my word, guys. Okay, this is taking a quick turn. But yeah, for those who joined later, this is what I read from. I read from The Heart of the Matter, Volume 3. But you can check them out. They are available in all bookstores. They are on Loot. They were actually even on sale at some point. So maybe get that. Put them on your cart and give it to the universe and tell the universe to make sure that someone pays for your cart that is overflowing. Jane, wink wink. The universe is listening. So yes, guys, I will see you tomorrow at 5. Have a great evening. Bye.